Democrats are making one of the biggest mistakes they could ever make by excising pro-life individuals from their party. But as the purity tests continue and they increasingly cater to the woke Twitterati, they embrace more and more radical positions and excise their own base. What's really funny about all this is I've talked about in more nebulous terms that it feels like moderate Democrat types are being forced out of the party. Now we know for a fact it's true. Bernie Sanders said at an event recently that there's no future for pro-lifers in the Democratic Party, saying being pro-choice is an absolutely essential part of being a Democrat. Bernie Sanders just said to the majority of Democrats, the majority, you are not welcome here. Now, hold on. I'm being a bit hyperbolic, but let me explain. It's complicated. Here's a poll from Gallup. Democrats' view on legality of abortion 1975 to 2019. And you'll find something truly fascinating right here. In 2019, the amount of Democrats that believe abortion should be illegal in all circumstances increased to 14%. The amount of Democrats who believe that abortion should only be legal under certain circumstances increased to 45%. And the amount of Democrats who feel that abortion should be completely legal for any reason dropped to 39. That means 59% of Democrats want at least some regulation or restriction on abortion. But what have we been seeing in like Virginia, for instance? Third trimester, late term, removing restrictions, no longer needing multiple doctors, doesn't have to be performed in a hospital. And then you had that shocking back and forth between a woman named, I believe, Kelly Tran, who said that when asked, when could you perform an abortion if it would affect the health of the mother? What if the mother's about to give birth? She said, there's no limit. Now, you'll go to Snopes and you'll go to these fact check sites and they'll say it's all not true. But it is. It wasn't a blanket, you can abort whatever, whenever, but it was thin enough to remove tons of restrictions. And that means in the Democratic Party, at the very least, 14% have been told GTFO by not just Bernie, but also Buttigieg. Now, Buttigieg definitely gave a way better answer than Bernie Sanders. But I want you to seriously look at this poll. I hope if you're a liberal, if you're someone on the left, you recognize the sheer absurdity of where they're going with these abortion provisions. Tulsi Gabbard said we should have some restrictions, and she got attacked in the media for it. These people have lost the plot. Keep in mind that 14%, it's the most important. We can argue that in the 45% who want some restrictions, it could vary widely between, third trimester, who knows, with some restrictions. We just don't know. We don't know exactly. But I can say this. Bernie Sanders, while trying to, pander to the woke Twitterati, basically told pro-life Democrats, we don't want your vote. We don't need your vote. You must be pro-choice. Well, where do you think these people are going to go? Because pro-life is a serious, serious moral issue. And that's why someone like me, I'm able to sit down with Glenn Beck. And we talked about this. And I said, look, I'm pro-choice. But I'm willing to concede I don't have the moral authority to dictate how everything should be. It's called a republic. We have representatives, we have democratic institutions, and that means your voice is weighed the same as mine. Now, we do have a problem with campaign finance. Rich people can just dump money however they want, and that gives them disproportionate power. This is a long-standing problem, for sure. But when it comes to the moral opinions, I'm no better or worse than Glenn Beck. Now, you might disagree with me, and that's fair. And that means we have to work together because we're in this system. In the end, if you can muster up more votes than I do, I lose everything, which is why concession in some fields is important to make sure the pro-life Democrats don't leave. And they will, especially when Bernie says something like this. Let's read the story from The Blaze. Oh, interestingly, I mentioned Glenn Beck. This is his outlet. They report, Democratic presidential candidate Senator Bernie Sanders doesn't see a future for people who believe in protecting the rights of the unborn in his vision of the Democratic Party. At a presidential candidate forum in New Hampshire on Saturday, Sanders was asked, is there such a thing as a pro-life Democrat in your vision of the party? Sanders responded in the negative, saying, I think being pro-choice is an absolutely essential part of being a Democrat. If you're asking me, to applause and cheers from the audience. This is because they are catering to the woke Twitterati. I know many boomer Democrats. I know many people, Gen X Democrats. Unfortunately, they're not paying attention. At least some of them aren't. And when I ask them about this, they tell me I'm a liar. It's not true what happened in Virginia, they say. Snopes told them it was false. So I actually sent the Virginia bill, which states abortions can be performed. It removes the restriction that abortions be performed in a hospital. Where would you then have them performed? You're not proposing restrictions, you're removing them. You can say some kind of facility. I guess, nope, gone. It also says that it removes the restrictions for any reason. But they do say, so long as it would impact the health, mental or physical of the woman. And that's where things start getting muddy. NewsGuard, which I often use, was critical of the Daily Wire for saying this bill would essentially allow them to perform abortions for any reason. But that's just hyperbole. It's technically the case. I understand there are some restrictions, but think about how lax that is. The woman might have her mental health impaired, so you take a baby at the point of birth and kill it? Like, there's a line, man. There's an absolute line. But these people don't know because they don't watch the news. So I send them this bill and they're shocked. I mean this literally. I was talking to a friend and I sent this to them and they said, oh my God, I didn't realize. It's right. Because right now, so many Democrats think pro-choice means nothing after, nothing in the third trimester and only in the second trimester with like extreme conditions or certain conditions. No, they're removing the conditions and they're saying third trimester up to the point of birth. In fact, Ralph Northam actually talked about delivering the baby for some reason. I don't know what his deal was, but that was weird. And it literally happened. He was asked about abortion and he said the baby would be delivered, resuscitated, and then the mother and the doctor would have a discussion about what to do next. What was he trying to imply? That kind of talk is shocking to many Democrats. And so I think there's going to be a ton of people who have no choice but to say there's a hard line for me and this is it. They want the social justice issues. They want the social policy issues, but they don't stand for what this is. Bernie says, I think being pro-choice is an absolutely essential part of being a Democrat. If you're asking me to applause and cheers. And I may be wrong on this. I think in the Senate, probably 95% of the Democrats are pro-choice, but you have a few who are not. Sanders continued adding that there is maybe even a higher percentage of pro-abortion Democrats in the House of Representatives, pro-choice. I understand the Blaze is conservative, so they're going to, frame their language. I don't think you need to do this. In fact, I think the Blaze would be better off just quoting Bernie verbatim and showing the Gallup poll to say, we don't need to call them pro-abortion. We don't need to say that they're all about killing babies. I understand that is a legitimate perspective held by the right. Even Louis C.K. talked about it. He said, that would freak me out too. Use their language. Explain to them in their terms. And then talk about how they are sacrificing their own political party. I don't think they care, though. He says, so that's kind of what my view is. I think by this time in history, I think when we talk about what a Democrat is, I think being pro-choice is essentially an essential part of that. Princeton University professor Robert George took to Twitter to condemn Sanders' remarks as officially excommunicating pro-life Democrats. He added, so if you're pro-life, you're unacceptable, unwanted, and intruder. Time to go elsewhere. I don't think we need to even be that hyperbolic. But if you're going around saying vote blue no matter who, by the way, the no matter who is all about third trimester abortion and has no interest in compromising with you, well, why do you think they would really consider what you're asking? Pete Buttigieg was confronted by a pro-life Democrat, and she wrote this op-ed. I'm the pro-life Democrat who confronted Pete Buttigieg. He's pushing out valuable voters. I support all the major Democratic causes of our day, but my party won't tolerate any dissent on abortion, and it is driving away voters like me. Pete Buttigieg gave a pretty good response. I know a lot of people ragged on him for it, but he said something like, I know we disagree, but I know that you're looking for someone smart to make the decision, and I hope you'll trust me to do it. Okay, that was a good answer. And I think it's fair to say, I won't trust you to do it if you're pro-life. But what I do respect about what he said was, I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to try and trick you into getting your vote. I'm pro-choice. I thought that was great because I feel the same way. I would never go to someone who's pro-life and say I'm pro-choice, or try and trick them into taking their support so I can turn around and do something totally opposite to what they're looking for. Nope. I will tell you this straight up. Here's what I believe in. If you disagree, please do not vote for me. I in no way want to take your support and do anything you would oppose. If you think you agree with at least enough of this to support me, know that I will do these other things. But straight up, don't vote for me if you don't like what I'm proposing. It's not a matter of disrespect. I won't take it personally. In fact, I take it very much as a sign of respect. When you say, I humbly disagree and I will give my support elsewhere, that's what makes the system work. So it was respectful, I think, for Pete Buttigieg to say this. But in the end, all that matters is the only person I've seen who's actually been willing to talk about compromise is Tulsi Gabbard. I think she's the only one who's been smart about actually reading the signs and looking at what's going on. Did any of these Democrats look at the polls? You just lost 14% of your voters and potentially risked another 45. This is why Trump wins. I don't know what the solution is. I never do. And I say that a lot. But I can tell you this. You can't just assume it's your way or the highway if you expect to win. Because you've got people on the Republican side who are pro-choice. I mean, there was Bob Hugin in New Jersey. He was a fairly moderate Republican candidate. He wasn't excised from the party. Yet Jeff Van Drew just become a Democrat. They welcomed it with a handshake and an endorsement. On the other side, they're basically saying, get out. Stick around. One more segment coming up in a few minutes, and I will see you all shortly.